So we are to our first information item, Camino Grove Elementary School board presentation. Dr. Forsey, would you like to introduce this?
Yes, this is something that we've reimagined in our COVID era. And so, as you know, we've done a few things in the past. We've done our board learning walks, where board members go to all of our sites and see classrooms and students and speak with staff. That's clearly not going to happen at this point in time this year. And we've also done our profiles in excellence, which honors specified staff and is a very largely attendance board meeting. And that clearly cannot happen in this time either. And so trying to reimagine those two events, we decided let's combine them and turn them really into school site celebrations. And so tonight is the kickoff of what you will have 11 different school site celebrations in our following board meetings. And I'm thrilled to have Camino Grove be first. And I would like to give you a little bit of information because she will not. Danae Popovich will be sworn in into a state committee at the end of the month, an instructional quality committee. And so that will happen at the end of the month. And I know she would not say anything, so I will, but we're very proud that she was selected for that role. And with that, Danae, take it away. Show us Camino Grove.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Bramley. If we can go to the next slide. Well, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to share tonight. I am so incredibly proud of the extraordinary staff that I get to work with every single day, who believe that even though we are in a distance learning environment, we can meet the needs of our individual needs of our students in creative ways and foster connectivity and joy. So tonight, we are proud to share with you our distance learning journey. Go on to the next slide. So how do you navigate something that's never been done before on this scale? That was a question every teacher and school across the United States and the world had to answer and grapple with. At Camino Grove, we started with what is essential? What foundational skills need to be addressed to minimize gaps in learning? How do we create clarity for students? How do we engage students in learning? And how do we meet individual needs? These questions have become our North Star, and we've really stayed the course. Next slide. So once we figured out the what of learning, teachers could focus on the how. For a majority of teachers, they found that core academic lessons were best taught and received in small groups and reserved the whole group lessons for community building or other content areas that were not focused on foundational skills. Next slide. We took an all hands on deck approach, utilizing all resources available to us. Next slide. We took a vulnerable approach and dove fearlessly and oftentimes fearfully into technology. It is said that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, we have experienced the urgency necessity brings, and we have been challenged and pushed to incredible limits. But in turn, we have seen and done things that a year ago we believed were impossible become possible. And we are able to meet the needs of our students. We just need to be open to approaching learning in a new way. So Mrs. Hayek is here tonight to share with you a glimpse of what that looks like in a fifth grade classroom.
Thank you, Mrs. Popovich. Good evening, everyone. The fifth grade team uses feedback cycles in order to continually engage students while meeting them where they are academically. This has been our most consistent form of formative assessment. We focus on learning intentions and on providing access through as many virtual pathways as possible while still working to keep it personalized. In order to help make that happen, we create many access points through programs like Snap and Read, Moat, Padlet, Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, and Google Slides. Next slide. Using Google Slides allows us to clearly state our learning intentions, to show students where they're going, designate an area for them to show how they will access that learning intention, and provide a space that includes a success criteria for student reflection and next steps. This process of student accountability has been an integral part of building agency and strengthening our students' foundation before they head off to middle school. It transfers ownership of learning from the teacher to the student, and it builds confidence as the kids go through multiple iterations of learning intentions. This also allows the teachers to give specific and thoughtful feedback using MOTE. In an effort to build trust with our students, we implemented Community Fridays and Feedback Friday forums. Based on their brutally honest feedback, we know which pathways are working best for our students. This type of reflections is important for our own teaching best practices, since we believe in modeling what we ask students to do, which is to reflect often. This trust is what motivates students to listen to our motes, reflect on our feedback, and have the grit to keep pushing themselves, all while trusting the feedback cycle process. With MOTE, students can hear us giving individualized comments on their work in reading, math, science, and writing. While it's never certain if written feedback is read, we can see that students are listening to the MOTEs, not just once, but 4 or 5 times. Distance learning's changed the way that we teach, and we'll continue the work of creating access to the curriculum for all students. The work's never done for them or for us.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayek. Mrs. Hayek gave us a glimpse of how teachers are adapting to new learning environments, but for some students, they need more support. And waiting until we return in person is not an option for us. Mrs. Fernandez and Ms. Labella have been part of the support team that has worked to create opportunities for more intensive intervention and support.
So as our support staff started off the year, one of our main goals was to really focus on ways that we could prevent learning loss. So 2 of the ways that we approached this goal was to first focus on progress monitoring our students closely, and second, being really intentional and purposeful in creating our support groups. So 2 of the many ways that we are progress monitoring our students this year is through 6-week grade level check-ins with our teachers, as well as STAR data. So first, with our 6-week grade level check-ins, support staff are collaborating with grade level teams. And during this time, we really get to discuss that grade level students and what supports are needed to help the teachers, help us support our teachers, as well as supports for our students. So it gives us a clear picture of what's happening in the grade level. STAR data allows us to monitor and track student progress, and we really can focus on those academic trends. So these 2 methods have really been essential in targeting the needs of our students. So here's an example of a student's STAR data in reading. And as you can see, 2 years ago, this student was considered a struggling student. And you can see that that's indicated by the red and yellow dots on her report. So we implemented intense interventions, and her black trend line started to show that she was progressing towards meeting grade level standards. When we monitored her this year during our all school progress monitoring time, we noticed that there was a drop in her score from when we had school closures in March and when we resumed in August. So looking at this, we needed to figure out ways that we could help this student get back on the track of progressing. And we have these wonderful strategies that we implement during the year when we're in-person learning, wonderful interventions, and we really needed to get creative to think of how we can maintain this high level of support in a virtual environment. So through this, we have changed, one way that we have changed looking at our intervention groups and our support groups is we've made the groups smaller. In the past, we have had 6 to 8 students in a group, and this year our groups average about 4 students, and we're very flexible. We don't stick to that 4. It really depends on what our students need in that group. Next slide, please. And this slide represents all the support groups that are taking place on a weekly basis at Camino Grove, in addition to all the supports that our classroom teachers are providing for their students. So in my intervention program alone, I had 95 students participating, and there are about 30 groups running weekly. As well as myself, Mrs. Popovich, and our school psychologist, Mrs. Lee, are also running support groups so that we can really target our student needs and provide extra support when needed. And this slide also includes our RSP groups, our ELD groups, as well as our speech and language groups. And now Mrs. Labella is going to share some ways that we are supporting our ELD students.
Thank you. So in thinking about and planning for our English learners, we really wanted to take into consideration that these students aren't just suffering from academic setbacks due to lost classroom time, but that they're also really at an increased disadvantage just because of a lack of exposure to English within their homes. We know that when they're on campus, these students rely really heavily upon the unstructured and non-academic time throughout their school day. Times like lunch, recess, transitions in between classes, when they really have an opportunity to interact with and absorb language from their peers and from their environment. So with this in mind, our goal was to carve out pockets of time throughout the day when these students could meet in small groups with their classmates and with a teacher to get extra English support and vocabulary instruction at their level. Through creativity with our budget, resources, and available personnel on campus, we were able to create 17 additional small groups that subsequently have allowed us to provide additional services to 60 of our highest, most at-risk English learners. And this is all in addition to the ELD instruction and classroom support that they receive on a regular basis. Next slide.
So we know that academics cannot be our only focus, and we need to address the needs of the whole child. Learning is social and it's emotional, and more than ever, we need to address the needs of our families through increased communication and community building. And here's just some samplings of ways that staff is connecting with families and students. Many of the teachers are spending their lunches and after school time to hang out with their kids and just build relationships. And Mrs. Pasqua is here to share how maintaining traditions and working closely with support staff and parents has benefited more than just the student.
Good evening. It's nice to be here tonight. One way that we connect with our students and their families is by keeping our traditions alive with, of course, some modifications this year. Speaking as a kindergarten teacher, our traditions provide a framework for learning as well as engagement for our families. Every fall, we do the gingerbread man hunt. This year was no different. One purpose of the hunt is for students to meet different staff members. This year, we took a video of the hunt, all the while still introducing our students to our school staff. With adaptations, the hunt was a success and the students had fun. During this past holiday season, all of our teachers kept the tradition of holiday parties going, just in a virtual setting. In this video, you will see one of our kindergarten students participating and dancing during the holiday party. Again, our traditions are alive and well.
Makes me clap. Christmas makes me clap. Christmas makes me clap, clap, clap. Oh, Christmas makes me clap. Christmas, yeah. Christmas makes me dance. Better stand. Christmas makes me dance. Christmas makes me dance, dance, dance. So Christmas makes me dance. And now the
Okay. Additionally, we have found other positive connections between the classroom, our support staff, and our families. One of our speech teachers has been getting online with a few of my students after class just for a few minutes each week, just to provide help in their speech development. The results have truly been amazing. We have asked that a parent be present for the lessons. Therefore, the parent is seeing how our speech teacher works with the child, and our speech teacher provides the parents with ideas and activities to continue on, so there is consistent practice throughout the entire week. This has been an invaluable situation, and the same can be said for one of my ELD families. The mother didn't understand vowels and consonants, and she was Googling it. Then she decided one day just to start sitting in on our class lessons, and she started learning and practicing her English that way. So we are learning some new strategies from being in this current educational situation.
Working with our SELFIS students is also a challenging task during this time, and distant learning has definitely had an impact on how we meet the needs of our students. But Mrs. Francis Cheney and Miss Nina will share, as we have opened our classrooms and our families have opened their homes, we have gained invaluable skills and increased our partnership with our families that will benefit students far into the future.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. So as Ms. Popovich said, we've really partnered with our families in the autism program to support distance learning, and I am so grateful for their daily collaboration. One of my biggest goals is to empower parents to feel successful in helping their students learn, communicate, and regulate behavior in all settings. And visual supports have been a huge anchor for us during this time, not only for student instruction, but also for fostering that parent and staff communication and connection, keeping us all on track because now our classrooms are in multiple locations. One strategy that I used was to create Google Slides for each student and shared it with my instructional aides and parents. So these are screenshot examples of a set of slides that I made for a family. It's a living document that parents can reference each day before our lessons to organize the materials and be prepared. We include the basic schedule, pictures of stimuli that I send home every 2 weeks, videos that explain certain teaching strategies, as well as links to some of our digital content. It really helps all team members understand the expectations and fosters an anxiety-free, productive lesson, because when you're live on video with elementary school students, timing is everything. Plus, these resources are something that parents can refer to later and carry over into other aspects of their daily life. That tangible visual support is so important, and it's really been a positive process collaborating with the families, and I'm just so happy to have them on this journey with me. And my classroom aide, Miss Nina, who is also a fabulous Camino Grove parent, will share out how we've been getting creative with video modeling during distance learning. So we'll go to the next slide for Miss Nina.
Thank you, Ms. Fran. Hi, everyone. I can definitely say that on this new distant learning journey of mine, I have become more tech savvy. I've learned how to use iMovie, Flipgrid, Google Slides, Screencastify, and many more. Through this, I'm able to help the students and family model different skills and also provide them with lifelong learning strategies. This is also extremely helpful when it comes to helping my two daughters with their distant learning. I've helped my daughter with iMovie and Flipgrid. We have such an amazing time together just making videos for her class. I'm just very glad as a parent and an educator with the ongoing communication and support from everyone here at Camino Grove that I'm able to continue helping the students and my girls thrive in school, even if it means being in a virtual setting. Thank you. Next slide.
So not only have our teachers found ways to connect with our students and families, but our counselor has formed multiple groups as well that go above and beyond her daily classroom lessons to provide social opportunities for our students. Next slide. But this year has challenged us all, and students have missed out on so much. Our kids need to look forward to things and experience joy. Mrs. Pascoe echoed that same sentiment to me early on in the year, and it really challenged me to find ways that our staff could create moments of joy for our students and families to experience together. So here are just a few of the things that have been and will be happening around Camino Grove. And Ms. Chai has been very involved in these activities as the parent in charge of PTA programs. She has experienced both events as a parent and also as a staff member.
So yeah. So as a teacher, you know, I've always asked the students, what's the most memorable thing for the school year? And it's never about the lesson, it's never about the assignments, but it's always about the fun that school has brought, the engagement and just the joy. So every year Camino Grove has our annual trunk or treat. And this year we decided to make it a little different. We had students and parents come through in their car. We had teachers waving, dressed up in their costumes, and the kids got to see our school in a different way. And not only that, but really interacted. So by seeing the students' faces, the cheers, and just the joy, and even the emails later from parents saying how much they really enjoyed being able to come to the trunk or treat event, like totally made it worth it. And so we thought, well, holidays are coming. So what other way can we kind of keep our joy and engagement and excitement going? So we decided to do our Roadrunner Holiday House Hunt. So if you kind of drove around Camino Grove community, you would have seen QR codes on certain lawns, letters, and students had a map and they had different activities they had to do. And families have said it was such a great way to get out of the house and just be a family and do all these fun activities. It was also kind of fun to see students excited about seeing houses and being able to figure out the hidden phrase that was within all those letters. As a teacher, I'm always coming up with different ways to get kids to just be excited about school, especially with this virtual learning, because we all know how every now and then they all have that, I don't want to come to school. So by having lots of fun and engagement as a teacher, we keep that going. As a parent, I always enjoy when my kids come back and tell me all the fun they had, all the cool lessons and activities that they did. And as PTA program chair, I just have to keep going and get creative and think of how our activities that we've always done at Camino can be done in a virtual setting where social distancing is a-okay.
Next slide. So everything we do is an opportunity to impact students, including material pickup days. And who would have thought a year ago that material pickup days would, one, even be a thing, and two, be something that families would actually look forward to. But for one student in particular, it has become a moment of affirmation and connection every 2 weeks. In order to get his materials, he has to jump on his bike the second school ends, ride as quickly as he can to pick up his packets for the next few weeks. His teachers know that he'll be the last one there, but he always shows up. The teachers stay until the student arrives, and they see him enter the parking lot, and they cheer as loudly as they can, letting him know how glad they are to see him. What impact this will have on this student, we may never know, but what a powerful message a child receives when he rounds the corner in a parking lot on his bike to see his teachers cheering him on and faithfully waiting just for him. This story is not an anomaly, but stands as an example of the incredible work, commitment, and spirit of the Camino Grove staff. With that, we will show you one final short video. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to thank you for that wonderful presentation and just, I mean, I got kind of teary when you were talking about the boy where the teachers are waiting and just cheering him on. It's just, I think it's that just seeing all the strong relationships that you have in your staff, the teachers, the families, that community, and just utilizing all of that to be successful in this virtual learning environment is, it's just, you know, it just makes me happy and it fills me with joy. So thank you so much for all of that.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. I was chuckling because I made a placemat after watching that day of 12 Days of Christmas, and it was so much fun to see the different projects and the way to engage kids and families at home. And as a parent, I would have appreciated so much the drive around the neighborhood and how creative you guys have been in fostering connections that will be meaningful for a long, long time. And I think those, as Josie was saying, those will be the things that the families and the kids remember, and that will be so special and stand out so much, especially because of how isolated we are. I think they'll carry that with them through their entire lives. But I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the extra effort with the ELD program. Giving those kids the opportunity to hear and speak English with peers as well as small groups will really pay off in the long run. And I just appreciate the attention to detail with each child that your staff always does in the normal course, and yet I think has even gone above and beyond in this environment. So thank you. I too got teared up with the story and watching the video too, just seeing the joy and the light in those families' faces, and hearing and from people in the community about their experiences in interacting with some of these things. It's just been so validating, and that Camino Grove staff is invested and cares so much always, but this was just such an illustration of all of that. And so kudos to the creativity and the amazing amount of work that goes into all of the planning and all of the small groups and all the extra time, because at the end of the day, the kids are going to be so benefited by that. So thank you.
I'd like to add to that too. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the presentation. And it's just once again, a reminder that teachers are heroes during this time. And thank you for facing up to the challenge, being innovative, being creative, and most importantly, thank you for keeping the joy in school. So, thank you.
Also echo the same similar remarks. In a time of so much uncertainty, I so appreciate all the hard work that Ms. Popovich, you and your teachers, your staff have done to put the kids at number one and do everything possible to make their learning a priority. As well as keeping those traditions. So we have so much uncertainty, but those traditions are important to keep going. It gives them a sense that things are okay, even though they're different. Things are okay. They're going to be okay. And as well as you didn't accept baseline, just getting up to a baseline. You use innovative ideas and creativity to exceed that baseline, to achieve the cliche of not just surviving but thriving, right? Doing things that we couldn't do even during normal times. So just want to echo all the same remarks. Thank you. You guys are heroes, and we appreciate you.
I think everybody has said almost everything. And the one thing I had not thought about was the fact that those children that are the ELD children are at home only speaking their language with their parents, the native language, and not learning English and missing all that chatter between kids and on playgrounds and in hallways and all that. And I don't know why I haven't thought about that fact, but it sure makes sense. And thank you so much for all that each of you is doing. It's wonderful. Many years ago, you all, Camino Grove really led the way in UDL. And while we're not talking UDL precisely, all those good learning techniques I'm seeing rippling through in the things that you're doing and in the platforms you're using to pull and be able to teach with the kids and pull out all the best that you have. And it's just tremendous. So thank you all.
Just one last thing. It was really interesting to hear about the family partnerships, especially in the autism program, because that is something that I know we strive for in the normal course, but really giving parents tools and strategies and sharing the idea behind the lesson. Maybe we're able to do that better in this type of environment. And I think that's something that, will just continue to grow. So thanks for really involving the families as much, because you have to invite them in. And you guys do way more than that. And it really does seem to be a true partnership. And that is why it's successful. So thank you.
I'm going to jump in. Two themes that jumped out for me that it was such joy to my heart to hear. The first one was that partnership that people have mentioned between home and school, principal and home, teachers and parents. There is an enormous amount of vulnerability. And let's just call it what it is, to step into that scary space where you can be judged. I mean, you guys are now doing this live in all these homes that are watching, and that's very scary. And it just requires just such a level of vulnerability. And I just thank you for walking into that space. And I'm convinced, I always have been, that vulnerability is that bridge to trusting relationships. And it's not just been about thriving during this times through that, but actually building bridges that didn't even exist before, and taking this as an opportunity to build something that I believe is going to be greater even after we're back together again. And so I appreciate that. The second one was the moments of joy. As someone that was watching and reliving some of those events that I participated in personally, I never thought I'd wait 45 minutes to drive through a Halloween exhibit with staff. And it was absolutely the highlight for my kids. They just couldn't believe that their teachers were out there, and the staff and all the people that they look up to so much and miss, and just being close to the school physically just meant so much to them. And it, for me as an adult, I think I forgot how important it is to kids and their daily lives, and school's so much an important part of that. And when I watched the Halloween video, what really hit me was there's a million reasons and excuses for you all not to do so many of the things that you've done this year. First of all, just being the fact that you've had to reimagine everything you do every day, and you're exhausted at the end of the day. And so for you to step forward and give those extra efforts, and on a late night, staying out in the parking lot until every single car has gone through, even though it was backed up, causing the Arcadia police many problems. You stayed and you dressed up, and it was a highlight. So I'm convinced that even though some of us older folks 20, 30 years from now are going to be saying, when, back in the pandemic of 2020 and talking about some of the challenges and hurdles, I believe these kids are going to have a completely different story. I think they're going to be talking about the adults in their life and the people that step forward to make it very special. That's what they're going to remember, and that's because of you. So thank you.
Thank you all very, very much.
I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge the Camino Grove staff and what they shared tonight. Ahead of my notes, especially with that story, I teared up too. You know, just beautiful and sacred moments where we're connecting with our students where they are and in the ways that they need it. You know, you can talk a lot about innovation and doing new things, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't connect with a student at that moment of need or inspiration, it leaves a lot to be desired. So I just want to thank Danae and her staff and really all of our teachers and staff for the amazing work they are doing in challenging times where we are really inspiring and engaging with our students in a meaningful way.
I want to touch back on the Camino Grove and their presentation that stood out to me tonight. When Nina and Julia were talking about, you know, the adaptation of new apps and softwares they're using, but Nina mentioned how she's teaching herself, her kids, and their students iMovie. And most of these videos that are being done are like Kevin Sherrill asked him, you know, who put this one together? And he's like, oh, I did that. And he wanted zero credit for it. Of course, I want to give him credit because it's amazing. But learning iMovie and putting these videos together, if you've never done that, you don't understand the time and many times the frustration it takes to do these things. And they're doing this on their own time. The middle school choir one, I was talking to Amanda, it took her 30 hours. You're piecing together 30, 60 individual songs into one video. So that's just one small example, but to see that all throughout the district, teachers teaching themselves iMovie to do these videos and adapt to virtual learning is just, it's amazing. So inspiring. So kudos to Camino Grove and what they're doing, and all of our districts, teachers that are learning these new editing things.
I attended a webinar through NPR, the local NPR, with Dr. Imadino Yang. She's at USC in the Center for Effective Neuroscience Development Learning and Education. And the topic was, you know, distance learning. How is that affecting kids? And it was really interesting. And of course, everyone's concerned about the disconnection. And so Camino Grove's report was just such a wonderful highlighting of how hard we're working to connect.
As always, I am just amazed at all that our parents are doing to support and engage our students and our families. It's, as you could even see from Josie's presentation for Camino Grove, just the creativity and the activities that they're doing to keep our kids just, you know, giving our kids something fun to do is, it just makes me really happy. So thank you to those parents, because I know that's another added extra, you know, work that they're putting into their schedules already with homeschools and all that stuff. So thank you so much to them.
Just reflecting on today's boardwalk, it kind of got me thinking, because like prior to this school year, I thought I'd really done it all in terms of technology. Just like being in Arcadia and like being introduced to the Google platform so early on. I thought it was like super well versed in like Google Slides, Google Docs, and everything related educationally. Except when this year happened, it was just platform upon platform and new like tool upon tool. So I was just thinking about like elementary schoolers, like little first graders and third graders, like trying to navigate that. It was crazy to me to wrap my mind around, but just seeing those presentations and all the different tools that they're using to sort of adapt the learning environment to something more suitable and easier to understand for those younger kids was really crazy to me, because I couldn't even imagine like trying to navigate that if I were younger. So like just big shout out to all the teachers that are, you know, working patiently with the students to make that come to life, and obviously all the students who are dealing with that.
Just a quick brief reflection that I want to share. I was looking for some documents today and came across some of my notes and some of the transcripts, notes from meetings, board meetings, and different meetings that we were having back in end of March and April, this past March and April. And if you recall, there was a hope and a focus on what we talked about was the opportunity in this crisis. And we didn't realize how long it was going to be at that time. But almost in every meeting we had, someone was focusing on we really need to capitalize on this as an opportunity. It's going to be a challenge and it's going to be a hardship, but there's opportunities there. And so I just want to use this as a celebration because tonight, as our first board walk visit with Camino Grove, we saw the evidence of that opportunity being capitalized on. And I just want to say thank you. I admire our world-class staff who is making this happen, ensuring that our students and our families are getting the very best experience, and our staff are doing what they can with what they have to ensure that success is happening. So just deep appreciation for everyone in our organization. Thank you.